Business. I am a digital communications specialist here at the Maryland Davis College of Business, specifically with the digital marketing team here. And I'm also an MBA student. I am studying with my MBA in project management and process improvement. It's been one of those experiences that has been both rewarding and satisfying, but at the same time challenging in many ways. I've been very blessed that in most of my workplaces that I've worked in, I've ranged from working in hospitality to in digital marketing to in the collegiate higher education space. Most of my coworkers have been very accepting and very honest and welcoming into these spaces. Very seldomly have I had a chance to encounter any type of negative space. I'm also given the benefit of the doubt, seeing as though I'm more masculine than a lot of gay men, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I fully own my identity and I am not shy about it. So for the most part, I've had good experiences. I have hope for the future. I think we've made a lot of progress and a lot of strides forward in creating workplaces that value the diversity and talents of people of all walks of life, specifically people who are queer and gay, because for the most part, there are policies at a lot of companies that protect the rights of people who are gay and allow them to be able to come into the workplace fully as themselves. In order to be successful, you have to be really willing to come authentically as yourself every single day of the week, and if you are entering a workplace that doesn't welcome you, then you can't be successful. So I think we've made a lot of progress, but I feel like there's also a lot more progress to be made. We live in a time where people are actively pushing back on the rights of gay Americans, and it's up to us to be able to be an ally and to be able to step up and say, yes, you are welcomed, and yes, we do value your talents. So every chance that we can, we will protect your rights, as it says in our Constitution and in our Pledge of Allegiance, and justice for all. So that's essentially what we're trying to, where I see that there's possibility for advancement in the future for gay Americans in the workplace. I think it's really important to read the fine print. Understanding what the company's policies are in terms of non-discrimination as well as sexual orientation in the workplace is really important. Knowing your rights also in terms of the federal laws and the state and local laws are also really important. There are protections for people in the workplace who experience discrimination based on their sexual orientation, and there are organizations that will advocate on your behalf if you seek their help. But knowing your company's policies and what to do in terms of reporting, in terms of who to reach out to if you feel that you've been discriminated against as a member of the LGBTQ+ community are really important things to know heading into the workplace. In terms of practical advice, I think we're very blessed to live in a time where it's become generally more accepted in corporate America to be gay. It's something that in the past people haven't had the ability to do so because it would hinder their career and they would get passed over for promotions, or they wouldn't be hired because of one factor. But we live in a time where people are actively looking for the talented, the best and the brightest, and if you are gay, if you are lesbian, if you are queer, then people will want to create a space that welcomes that talent, and you see that in every field because there's that talent competition. So just come authentically as yourself. Don't be afraid to showcase who you are as an individual, because you're setting the example for the next generation to be fearless and to be brave, to come into the workplace as themselves. You want to be a role model for the next gay person who wants to be in the corporate space, being the rock star as the next CEO. And sometimes you have to be the first person to jump off the diving board and jump into the water to be able to blaze the path forward for them. I think it's one of the strongest signals that a company can send to any potential recruits that, yes, we welcome you into our workplace. We will protect your rights as a member of the queer community, and we will actively welcome you into our space. It sets something that enshrines it in your corporate culture that it is welcoming, and we take it for granted, especially after the civil rights decision at the Supreme Court legalizing gay marriage, that gay Americans have made so many strides, but a lot of people have had to fight for those privileges to be able to work in the workplace as themselves openly without any fear. And by showing that you have these inclusive policies that emphasize diversity, it goes a long way to be able to show that, yes, we welcome you, and at the same time, those strides are setting an example for the next generation. People who are part of the LGBT community come in all shapes and sizes, and there's no one stereotype that matches everyone in the community. It's something that is unique to each and one of our own experiences, and by having those policies in place, you're showing that, yes, you are part of our story. Yes, we want your talent. Yes, we want you to bring your best and your brightest whenever you come to work every day. And ultimately that goes to being able to build what we all want. We want that family life. We want that stability. We want to be able to achieve that success in our careers and to be openly celebrated for who we are. And I think by having those diversity and inclusion policies, it goes a long way to doing so. It shows that you're not scared and that you're not going to cower to the pressure of what people may think, is an outdated way of thinking. I think that that's a really interesting question, because one of the things about being a member of the LGBTQ community is that we all have our own unique experiences. Some of us may still be in the closet, some of us may not be in the closet, and we may be very open, or some of us may be out of the closet, and we may not be as open about our sexuality. The one thing that you can do as a fellow employee or as a colleague is I think respecting boundaries. Unless someone explicitly tells you, just don't bring it up in the conversation. I think it's one of those things that we're taught at an early age. If you don't have something nice to say, just don't say it. If you think someone may be gay that you work with, one of the things that you can do is, if you're in the water cooler, don't encourage the conversation. Sometimes the less you know, the better. And if someone isn't quite ready to come out of the closet just yet, respect their decision and wait until they are ready. And then if they want to talk to you about it, they will talk to you about it. But if not, for the most part, remember, you're down to get to business. So sometimes people will check their personal lives at the door. So being able to respect the boundaries, but also being able to stand up for others whenever they're experiencing discrimination in the workplace goes a long way. If someone who is queer and is receiving bad treatment from others or receiving verbal abuse, then yes, stand up to it, report it to human resources, or as a matter of fact, be able to have the courage to say, no, that's not okay. I know that sometimes it's scary to be able to stand up to others, but at some point you have to draw the line, and that line is just common sense and civility. At the end of the day, you want to be treated the same way that others would want to treat you, and it's that same level of respect that creates the trust that allows you to create high-performing teams in the workplace. And I think that goes a long way to being able to bridge the gap and be a better ally in the workplace. I think the most straightforward way that a lot of the people that I've worked with show themselves to be an allies is just by not making a big deal out of it. At the end of the day, there's a person behind their orientation, and that person is at the core of who they are. If you just look beyond the fact that someone has the label of gay, lesbian, queer, then it goes a long way to being able to say that, yes, that's just who they are, and they bring much more to the table than just that one part of their identity. They may be Latino, they may be Black, they may be Asian American, but by showing that you can look beyond the label, it goes a long way to being able to say, like, hey, you're part of our team. You're beyond you're more than just that label. You are a collection of all your talents and all your abilities, and whenever I need you as a member of my team, I know that I can count on you. And that just goes a long way to saying that, yes, you're welcomed. And that's how a lot of my colleagues have always treated me, as an ally, and that's how I feel welcomed in this space. Just don't make a big deal out of it. I think one of the biggest things that you can start is by, outside of the structures that you have in terms of policy and reporting, find a community of colleagues that are sort of like your second family. Be able to share your stories with them and understand that you have people who are in the workplace who will be champions of who you are as an individual and that you can lean on. They're people that you can talk about at the end of the day, and you know that you're not alone. There are people who you can always talk to, and you can seek out other members of the queer community in the workplace, because more often than not, in a 100-person organization, a 50-person organization, a 10,000-member organization, know that you're not alone. There's employee resource groups at large corporations that are dedicated solely to highlighting members of the queer community in the corporate space, but know that you also have friends in the workplace who may not be gay or may not be queer, but they are more than likely to be welcoming and accepting of who you are, and these are people that you can lean on. So you're not alone. You're never alone. Yeah, so this brings me back directly to my hospitality days. At one point, I worked in the specialty coffee space, and one of the things is that a lot of my colleagues, we would have those experiences with customers, but at the same time, these were people that, I can shoot the breeze with and just be honest with them about, what was the day-to-day like. Being able to just talk about it and have that shared experiences goes a long way to being able to be a coping mechanism. I'm in a very unique position as a man who's cis and doesn't immediately come across as gay, but at the same time, it's an identity that I very much own, and it's something that I do my best to use to my abilities to help others cope. If I see someone who's being picked on or who is being called upon, I'm going to stand up for them, and vice versa. These are your chosen family is essentially the people that you build those shared connections, and you find ways to be there for them when they need you, just like you would with your real family. At the end of the day, we all have our shared experiences and we all walk our own paths of life, but we come across people who we have those shared connections and those shared experiences, and that goes a long way to being able to feel not alone, because sometimes you can feel alone. It can be sort of a lonely experience sometimes being gay, but at the same time, you have people who are there to joke with, who are there to talk to, who are there to be able to go through those difficult moments, because we all walk together at the end of the day. You're never alone. That's a really tough one. Like most of us, we all have our own paths to walk in life, but I think that the biggest thing that you can do in terms of being a professional but also being gay is come fully as yourself. Whenever you come to the table to any future employer, don't be afraid to hide the parts of you that are part of you. It may be scary, and yes, you may face some rejection from some employers, but if they're not willing to accept you for who you are, then honestly, at the end of the day, they weren't the right fit. You want to be able to come to work every day knowing that, yes, I'm coming as who I am. I'm not hiding any part of myself. And you want to be able to walk into work every day knowing that you're going to be able to slay and know that you're going to be celebrated for your accomplishments, because at the end of the day, you're going to be growing your career over the course of your lifetime. And your work doesn't define your value, but at the same time, you want to be able to be celebrated for who you are and know that you bring the accomplishments to the table and your employer has your back, because at the end of the day, the last thing that anyone in the workplace should be worrying about is your sexuality. You are who you are, and there's more to the conversation, because at the end of the day, the money talks and the bad stuff walks. I would have to say that my experience is unique. I think that that's something that we've seen over the course of a lot of these interviews with this series, but if there's one takeaway, is know that you're not alone. There's a community of people who are willing to stand up for you and be there alongside you as you walk your path in the corporate space. And above all, be authentic to who you are at the core of yourself, and don't be afraid to show who you are. So yeah.